Hello, my name is Dan Mitchell. Today I'm going to give you a demonstration of how you can connect your OpenEdge data to an AI session that's connected to our Sports 2020 database. For this demo, I'm going to use our MCP server connected through Visual Studio Code with the GitHub Copilot plugin. But truthfully, any agent that will talk to an MCP, including Progress Agentic RAG, should work. In this demonstration, I'll be an accounts receivable clerk that wants to do some account research. So I'm sitting down to my chat session and I'm going to say, I want to do some research on accounts receivable. What data do you think I should look at? So it's going to go off and it's going to translate that into a request to the system to say, okay, which data might be relevant to this? And it's looking at customers and invoices and orders and all kinds of different things. But we'll let it finish and it's going to come back with an evaluation and say, based on what I know, which is in this case Claude Opus, I'm going to tell you what the fields might be. It's working through that and it's thinking. It's interesting because as you're using Visual Studio Code, it does show you how it's reasoning and what it's doing. Occasionally it goes down the wrong path, so you'll get an internal error of sorts. But you really don't need to worry about those. What you're concerned with is what you get the answer. In this particular case, it has come back and said, okay, here's my recommendation for your accounts receivable researches. You can look at invoices, customers, bill to, sales reps, orders, and then also you can look at invoices where amount greater than total paid, et cetera, et cetera. So what it's done is it has used AI, Claude Opus in this case, AI, to interpret the data that it received back to give me help on how I should do this analysis. In this particular case, I'm really concerned about customers. So I'm going to say, what 10 customers have the highest balance? Let's just start there. So again, it's going to take that and translate it into something that it can use to call the data on the back end. In this particular case, it's going to get it out of the customer table. So it's using a business object called getBeCustomer. That is a business entity in a REST service. As it's going through, it's building Python scripts to render the answers to the questions or to show them on the screen. So you'll frequently see Python called here. The first time it asks me if it's okay if it does that, and I said it, of course that's okay. So it came up and said, okay, hook, line, and sinker has the highest balance. It's very interesting because in addition to just getting the data back and presenting it, it says Pro Golf Discount is a 97%, Apple River Sports Don Bacon. So it's doing an analysis along the way to try and help you to better explore the data. In this case, I'm interested in this high balance. So I'm going to say, tell me about hook, line, and sinker. And it's going to go off again to the customer table and it's going to bring back data from that. It's also looking through the orders and the invoices and the line items to try and do a complete analysis of that particular customer. So it comes back and says, here's the information about the customer. And you can see that going by. It makes key observations. So again, it's using AI to discern what might be interesting to me. It says all 4 orders are still in order status. There's no invoices, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to look at these orders and I'm going to say, tell me how to type. Tell me about their largest order. Now it's going to go in and search the order table by making a call to the system. The order is the 29280 is the largest one, and it's going to say, okay, here is the order, here are the products, and you'll notice that it highlighted snowshoes, and it says that is 78% of the order, $18,000. Well, it doesn't really tell me that. It's Evo snowshoes. So I could continue to ask about that. So I know that the problem there is with snowshoes, and I can look at that if I want to, but I'm gonna say, based on what you know, Should I be concerned about high balance? So again, I'm going to ask AI to make a judgment call. It's going to look at the data that it got, and it's going to say, is this worrisome to you? You know, it might be to me, and I'm not really sure how to think about it. So I'm going to ask AI to help me to determine that. So it comes back and says, okay, what's concerning is that they have a balance with 0 invoices. They've had 4 orders stuck for 3 years. The data in the Sports 2020 database is about 3 years old, so that's expected. Potential exposure, there's no email address on file, less concerning. And then it comes back and says, okay, here's some recommended actions. So it says, based on what you asked me, I think you should follow up with these things. So I'm going to say, okay, I don't see information on James Haggerty. So do you have contact information on James Haggerty? I'm going to intentionally misspell that because AI is going to be smart enough to figure out that I misspelled that. It says it's likely referring to James Haggerty with 2 G's, and it shows his information, including his phone number. It says, unfortunately, the phone is the only channel available. No email or fax. You want to get an email address out of the account when you reach out. Okay, so I'm digging in deeper and deeper. I now know who to contact there. I'm going to just ask a general question. Is this my worst customer? And it's going to go up again. I'm getting direct data from OpenEdge, but it's just columnar data, right? I'm getting information out of the tables, you know, about customers, about orders, about lines. And AI is adding value to this by determining, you know, reasonable answers to the things I'm asking. Again, it's going to run a Python script, so it's asking me if that's okay. I say that's fine. And really the Python is just around retrieving the data and formatting it in a way that I can display it on the screen. That's a feature of the GitHub Copilot plugin that I'm using within Visual Studio Code. It says hook, line, and sinker is the absolute balance, #1 in absolute balance, but not your worst customer. Okay, which is interesting across all metrics. Here's the full picture. And it says, okay, while they're #1 balance, they're number 162 on credit utilization. So they're saying, okay, based on other things flagged by credit holds, these customers might be worse. Okay, the verdict is hook, line, and sinker has the most dollars at risk, but customers like Provision, Sports Shop, and Pro Golf are 1 order away from exceeding limits. So it has given me a lot of information to help me make a determination on what I should do next. And I can continue down this path, you know, as long as I care to. For example, I can say, I want to say, okay, I want to explore invoices. What customer has the most unpaid invoices? And again, I'm going to look, instead of looking at orders and order lines, I'm going to look at invoices and see, okay, which ones have built, because it told me that all of these orders had not been invoiced because they hadn't actually, you know, completed from 3 years ago. So I'm going to say, okay, which ones have most unpaid invoices? This is definitely an accounts receivable problem, because if people aren't paying their invoices, I need to know about it right away. And what I'm doing here is I'm using the AI to help me to determine which ones they are so that I can make actions moving forward. Okay, and it comes back and it says, by count, Subpar Golf has the most unpaid invoices. All 4 invoices are completely unpaid. And it came in a list of the invoices. It says by dollars logged, Court Ligger has the most outstanding, being 40,000. So again, as with the order analysis, it's giving me an analysis of the invoices, and I can continue if I wanted to drill in, but this is really the end of what I was going to demo. Thank you for your time.